Welcome to Dugout Chatter. We are going to see how America's pastime has shaped generations of young men and women into the determined people they are today.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dugout Chatter. And today I have another coaching guest. I have Kyle Dahl, and I think our first order of business is, dude, why'd Franco leave us?
Well, okay, now is a good time to talk about. So I've known Franco for a while. I've I've pretended to be friends with him for the most. I thought I did a good job of that, and I think, to be honest, he wasn't a fan of like the exercise and diet I tried to get him on. So he left. No, I love Coach Franco. I don't know. He was ready. He wanted to start his own program, and that's what he's doing. So it's different without him, but I'm looking forward to playing against him.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for him as well. And how's it now taking over at Santa Lucia's?
It's been good. I mean, it was good that I was there for a year, so I know all the guys, and I was able to kind of shadow Franco how he ran. We're similar in the sense of how we run programs because I've coached before in the county. So we're similar in a lot of aspects, but we're also, there's things I do different. There's things he does different. So I'll have to put my own footprint on Santa Lucia's baseball this year.
I think one funny thing is, I played for Franco, and then I remember at practice, he'd always be playing like country music. And then one day I was there and I'm like, since when the fuck does Franco listen to Candlebox? And then I heard that you got some of your songs on like the music playing during practice.
The biggest thing that the players and even some of the parents and even the concession workers and even umpires have stressed to me is please don't play the music that Franco played. And that won't be an issue because I am not a fan of. I don't like most country music. There's some country I like, but I try to get some other music played. And Coach Biz, Coach Biz. No,
that dude's funny. He always has a mouthful of seeds.
When I asked him to come back, because he's going to be back this year with Santa Lucia's.
Yeah.
And he's like, one thing, I want to be able to choose music during practice one day a week. And I said, okay.
So what were you doing coaching before you got to Santa Lucia's?
So I've spent 7 years coaching at John A. Leonard High School, 3 as a head coach. And I used to work at a middle school, and I coached in middle school. So that's where I was previously. I actually graduated from John A. Leonard, so got to work where I went to high school. So I worked with a lot of the same teachers that I had as a student, so that was pretty cool. And then being able to coach where I played was pretty cool too.
Yeah, how was the difference between middle schoolers and high schoolers?
Like baseball or classroom?
I guess both, because it's a weird time.
So when I first got hired to teach, I taught English, and the one thing I said was I just don't want to teach 7th grade. That's the main 7th grade, and then I got hired to teach 7th grade.
Kids those age can be a little rough with how they listen, because I did that for like or community service hours. Like I helped my dad's coworker coach a little league team. You get some kids that just don't want to listen.
Yeah, middle school is definitely, as some middle school teachers will say, when you're teaching middle school, you're serving time. So I didn't mind it. I liked middle school. I liked teaching English 7th grade, but I was over all the changes in curriculum, and I was over grading essays. I was done with that. So.
Yeah, so going back to your playing career, so where do you want to start? Because I remember the time you went to John A. Leonard, they were kind of like a powerhouse. Like the early 2000s, the high school baseball down here was really intense because my oldest brother played for Santa Lucia's. He had guys like Josh Bell, Darren Downs, some really good high school talent. So did you see like a lot of kids like that growing up playing ball with them? They were just like there were some studs down here.
Yeah, well, that's Santa Lucia's team because I graduated 2006, so I played against.
You played against my oldest brother, right?
Played against him, yeah, and I think it was my sophomore year. That Santa Lucia team was probably the best high school team that I've seen as a coach or as a player because they had guys like Tony Cruz, Wade Corby, Williamson, Spearin. Simon was on that team, Pete Simon. So they had like a major leaguer, like 6. I went over those with Franco once, like major leaguer, 6 or 7 minor leaguers.
Yeah.
College guys, D1 guys. It was crazy. They were crazy good.
Did you play against Josh Bell?
I did, yeah. We played. He went to Boynton Beach. He went to Boynton Beach, I think, for his first 3 years. Then he transferred to Santa Lucia's. So yeah, I played against him and his Albert LeBoy, who went to Boynton and then transferred to John A. Leonard. Actually, played with him for a year. He was a really good player too.
So guys like that, could you like notice their difference in talent just from everyone else?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Josh Bell. I mean, he was head over heels above everyone in the for the most part. And Albert too, Albert LeBoy. And then you had guys like me who I don't know how I was hanging in with some of those guys, but no, Josh, he ended up playing how many years in the big leagues for?
He played 3 years with Baltimore and kind of, went hopping around between minor league teams. But he had 100 big league games under his belt. Yeah, and his first 2 home runs came off of Cliff Lee.
Oh, wow.
And that was like around 2010, 2011. And that's when, like, Cliff Lee was still one of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah, he was on my fantasy team a couple times.
God, I remember the Yankees tried signing him, and I forgot like who the commentator was, but they're on MLB Network, and he's like, "Man, if the Yankees offered me that contract, I'd sign it naked." Right. And Cliff Lee turned it down.
Are you a Yankee fan?
Yeah, right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, historically, they're like the best team ever. So.
Yeah, historically they are, but it's just like the new age stuff. They're head over heels with analytics. They got a bunch of 200 hitters. I like what they're doing now. They're kind of breaking in the youth movement. And that's what they did in 2017 when they brought up like Gary Sanchez, Aaron Judge, and all those guys. So I don't know if you've been seeing Jason Dominguez. Like that kid's a freak.
He's not the one who likes the 16-year-old girls. Which one's that?
No, that's Wander Franco.
Oh, okay.
That's Wander Franco.
So speaking of analytics, how do you feel about? What's your opinion on?
I think they've gone too overboard with it in the major leagues right now. It's definitely a tool, but it's kind of been viewed more as an end-all be-all. Because one thing I always say is like a guy who hits 300 and a guy who hits 200, OPS plus puts them on an equal playing field. I think that's kind of bullshit because there's a huge difference between 100 points and batting average. I don't care how you view it. The way I look at it is like you're taking a subjective stat like batting average and making it, or objective and making it subjective with OPS plus. Because you can't tell me Joey Gallo and Luis Ariz are like the same hitter.
Right. Yeah. For me, I mean, the analytics, it really gained in popularity after Moneyball came out, the book Moneyball.
Yeah.
And like, I thought the book is amazing. The movie's really good too. But in a sense, to me, it kind of ruined baseball. Not ruined it, but it ruined how it was played. And that's why the game takes 5 hours. When Red Sox Yankees took 5 hours to play because they're all taking pitches and they walk in and get the pitcher out. So I kind of didn't enjoy it for the most part.
Well, my brothers and I were actually talking about Moneyball, and it was good on its own merit as it was a Hollywood movie. The book, I read it, it got kind of stale halfway through it for me. But what they don't tell you is Barry Zito, Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson. They had Rich Harden coming through. That year in 01, Miguel Tejada won the MVP. Eric Chavez hit over 300 with 30 bombs and 100 RBIs. It wasn't just their analytics. They had absolute dudes.
I think if I recall correctly, the book Moneyball, I think Mulder, Zito, and Hudson were mentioned maybe one time.
Yeah, and dude, they were the 3-headed monster. If you ever go back and look at the Oakland team, through the YouTube rabbit hole, they're always the first guys mentioned.
Oh yeah, they were. That's why that team was really good because they had a really good
and
staff.
They had Johnny Damon come through the team, Kevin Youkilis. They had the Giambi brothers. They had plenty of talent. It wasn't just analytics. You got to find good ball players because they brought up Scott Hatteberg more than Miguel Tejada and what's his name? He was the switch hitter who played for Atlanta and the Yankees, the outfielder.
Yeah. Not David Justice.
No, it was David Justice. They had David Justice. That was his last season.
David Justice. Think about David Justice. Do you remember that he dated Halle Berry in the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
That was a cool thing. I love David Justice. I remember anytime he came up to hit, I thought he was going to hit a home run just because of that leg kick that he would do. He was a very intimidating hitter in the 90s. And, all those guys were doing steroids, but he was probably one of them. But anyway, he was still very intimidating, and I liked watching him play.
I was listening to a podcast with him on it, and he didn't really start playing baseball until he was 15 or something.
Really?
He started really late and got scouted at some school you just go to if you played baseball in your life. And he just ended up being one of the best players on the team. He was just an athlete.
Long time. And that reminded Kenny Lofton. Remember that guy, Kenny Lofton?
Yeah, dude, he had a really good career. They traded for him.
Did they?
Wasn't it David Justice and Kenny Lofton because Justice went to the Indians?
I think so.
Yeah, I can look that up real quick.
But apparently Kenny Lofton didn't start playing baseball until he was in college.
Yeah, and Kenny Lofton should get more looks for the Hall of Fame, honestly, because like he had a really great career.
He was really good. He had something going on in personal life that was an issue a few years ago, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, the Braves traded Kenny Lofton for David Justice.
Nice.
I think that worked out.
That was my team growing up, the Braves. I'm a Marlins fan, but growing up on because they had.
They were the most exciting team in the 90s.
Yeah, they were on TBS. Everyone could watch.
Well, actually, no, they weren't the most exciting team in the 90s. The Yankees beat them twice in the 90s.
I was very sad about that because I hated the Yankees growing up, and I liked the Braves, so I cried, I think.
Yeah, watching Andrew Jones come up at 19 and just send the league on fire, that was wild.
I loved, like, if you just mentioned guys from the 90s, like Mark Lemke or Jeff Blauser, to, like, a guy who liked 90s baseball, they get so excited. Like,
that was such a fun era because, like, now baseball's gotten a lot softer. You can't even throw out guys. And like you were saying about the Yankees and Red Sox, part of the reason their games were long is they were fighting every week.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many superstars in the 90s. And, I mean, there's guys now who are obviously really, really, really good baseball players, but there's no, like, transcendent stars like there were in the 90s that regular sports fans would know.
Right now, the closest thing's Ohtani, and the league hasn't marketed Mike Trout well enough.
No.
Like if you ever look at like highlights for games on YouTube, the views are kind of crap for major league games, but if you look at it for the WBC games, like they're getting millions of views after like every game.
Really?
When they posted the cuts of it on YouTube. So they marketed that a lot better.
Well, why don't they do that?
Like you're saying, it's just not a lot of personalities.
Yeah.
And like we're saying with the analytics, it's like I don't view a guy who like Kyle Schwarber is that exciting of a player. Like, he hits like a $190. Yeah, he's got power, but it's like with the game on the line, he's up against a good closer. He's going to strike out.
Right. Exactly.
So take me back through a little bit of your baseball career because I was doing some research on you. You and your brother, like I've heard about you from some of the guys I played with. You guys were pretty good ball players down here.
So I have a twin brother. I was a catcher. He was a pitcher. People like to laugh when I say that.
I was already about to make a good joke.
That's fine. I'm a really good catcher. So I'm just kidding. So he was a lefty pitcher, and I was obviously a catcher. So the problem with us was we liked to argue and fight all the time.
Oh God.
So anytime he would pitch, and I was catching, it would lead to an argument, and people just knew the Dahls were going to argue. But he was a really good pitcher. He played first too. He actually his junior year led the county in home runs.
Oh wow.
In Palm Beach. So he was good. He was probably better talented wise than me. Like as far as hitting and stuff, but I just I did all the little things when I was playing, like move guys over, bunt, and stuff like that. It was important to me.
Yeah, with me and my brothers, we all had like a pretty decent age gap. Like the one that's closest in age to me is like 5 years. So like I learned a lot, like, passing down knowledge and everything to me. So how was it being in like kind of the same age group? Did you guys play together on like every team?
I think I was, look, I'll admit it. I'm smarter than my brother when it comes to baseball.
Baseball IQ?
Yeah, baseball IQ. I was smarter. He did a lot of stupid stuff that bothered me when I was catching. Like he would strike guys out, and then he would do like wrestling like moves on the mound to celebrate and stuff, and it would just bother me. But no, it was good, obviously, because I could play catch with him whenever I wanted to. We would go hit whenever we wanted to.
Yeah,
I always had someone to practice with, so that was good.
Yeah. So how was it like going through high school in here or down here? I mean,
back then, I graduated in 06, so my junior year was when Park Vista opened, and then I think my sophomore year was Palm Beach Central opened. So there was less schools back then. So even a team like Boynton Beach was a powerhouse. And then when Park Vista kind of opened.
Yeah, a bunch of the St. Lucia's kids went to Park Vista.
St. Lucia's, Boynton, they all went to Park Vista. So it was kind of more condensed. So teams were much stronger. Majority of teams. Like Lake Worth was good.
God, that's so weird to
Atlantic
say now.
was good. Yeah. Johnny Leonard, we were good. So now it's when you tell guys that, they're like, what? And like, yeah.
No, I know, because now Johnny Leonard and Lake Worth have stepped down a lot.
Yeah, they're just the problem with Johnny Leonard is there's not a lot of baseball guys there anymore.
No.
There's just the numbers. They still have good players, but it's just not you don't get the same amount of people who come out for baseball. That when I was there, we had 60 to 80 guys try out.
Yeah, I think when Ryan played for St. Lucia's, he said there was like 120 kids trying
Franco
out.
told me that, yeah.
Yeah, because like with all the new schools opening, and that kind of spreads out the talent too, changes up the zoning and everything.
Yeah, when I was at John coaching, soccer would get over 100 kids to try out, and that's more of the main sport at John I now, where baseball we would get 20 maybe.
Yeah, Santa Lucia's has always been kind of like baseball and football. So what were some of your highlights in your high school playing career?
My senior year, we won districts. So that was cool. That was our main goal. Because my junior year, we actually had a really good team talent-wise, but for whatever reason, there was a lot of infighting with teammates, and we lost our first game in district tournament to a much weaker team. And it kind of left a really bad taste in the seniors' mouth the following year. And we were like we're not, none of that's going to happen. You don't want to go out like that. Yeah. And so we really stressed everyone showing up to conditioning, showing up every day to practice, and holding people accountable. And we won districts that year. We beat Park Vista 3 times by 1 run to win districts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what took you from high school to college?
I went to my brother and I both went to Daytona Beach Community College to play. We played together for 2 years. And then he went to Bethune-Cookman, and I went to North Florida to play. So I played for some real hard asses in college. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Tuma is the head coach at Daytona Beach.
Okay.
So he's been there for 20 years or so. But he runs a very strict program as far as academics and morning workouts. And he had the biggest influence on me as far as a player and a coach, how I view things and how I want to run a program. Like he would do things like if you missed one class, you would have to run 20 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, 80 laps around the field, and you had a week to do it. So I didn't miss any class. And you had morning workouts, you had pool workouts, you had weight room workouts at 5 a.m. So
yeah, I mean, that's important to teach kids too, because it's student athlete.
Right.
You need to teach a lot of them that.
Yeah, and that's why I tell guys who are in high school now, I'm like, if you're skipping class, you're missing class. Like when you go to college, you don't miss practice. Like high school guys miss practice. I'm like, you don't miss, that's not a thing. You don't miss practice.
Yeah, I thought that was weird when I coached last year, because like, I don't know, it seems like every day, like at least like 3 kids were missing practice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I remember I was coaching, this is when I was at Leonard, and I was talking to the team, and I was like, we're going to have a practice. We're practicing tomorrow. Is there anyone who can't make it? And a kid raised his hand, and I was like, why can't you make it? And he said, I have to go get my hair cut. And I turned to my assistant, and I said, I need you to talk, because I might say something I regret. So.
That's bad.
And then I think that happened last year. Someone had to get a haircut, and I was like, you're going to miss practice to get a haircut? And
that's a really bad reason.
I don't remember who it was, but they ended up not getting the haircut.
Because it used to be like, unless you're in like the hospital, you're going to school and practice.
Yeah, you don't miss practice. That was never a thing when I was playing. And then and then there's so many guys who help guys are very good to their mothers, because guys miss practice all the time because I have to go help my mom with something. I'm like, you're a really good son because you have to go help your mom.
Yeah.
Do who knows what, but I'm glad that you're a good son.
Take me through your college years a little bit. Like, did you look at going pro, or were you kind of down the line? You're like, I want to get into coaching.
I always wanted to get into coaching. Even when I was in college, that's something I wanted to do. I had aspirations to play pro ball, but I think as I progressed at North, like by the time my senior year, I was like, it's probably not going to happen. But when I played at North Florida, I played for 2 head coaches. One, Dusty Rhodes, who's a college baseball Hall of Famer. He opened up the North Florida program. He was a real hard ass too. And then Smoke Laval took over, who was he was the head coach at LSU before that. He was at LSU for years as an assistant. So he was my coach my senior year. And so he told me, like at the end of my senior year, towards the end of my year, he's like, hey, someone may want to sign you as a what do they call it? Not a walk-on, but undrafted.
Undrafted free agent signing.
So keep working. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll keep working. And then like in June or July, he called me the season's over, and he called me and was like, Dahl, come by. I have a really good opportunity you might like. And I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be good. And so I went to the field, and he's like, I need you to go to these Little League fields and put a flyer on everyone's car for my camps, and I'm going to give you $50. And I was like, that's what you wanted me to... That's what you call me for. Anyway, I made $50, so that was cool. But I really thought that he had someone wanted me to play for them, but that was not the case. So then after July, I think I was like, all right, I'm going to go home, and then I stopped playing. So
yeah. So who were some of the top guys you played against down here?
Let's see here.
I feel like it's always interesting because like everyone who's played down here has ran across like at least like 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah,
who
Chris
made
Volstad.
Oh yeah,
He played for Gardens. I faced him. I have a 333 batting average off him. 'Cause I went
One for three?
One for three. He actually, when I was at Leonard my sophomore year, we played them in the regionals, and he hit a moonshot 2-run home run that won the game.
and he's a huge dude, like
Yeah.
6'6".
So he hit it. I was catching, and I said, "That's going foul," and then it just stayed fair. But he started that game. He hit the game-winning home run, and then so he was really good. And it was weird facing him because he's so tall. And,
Yeah, and wasn't he like straight over the top?
Yeah,
but his
yeah.
curveball was like this.
yeah, and then I was a big Marlin fan, so I was excited when he was a Marlin. He had a really good first year, and then he kind of
Yeah, his first year in the big leagues, he started 14 games with a 2.88 ERA and 84 and a third innings pitched.
yeah. Then I would see him when I was at UNF. Some of my teammates went to Gardens and played with him, so he'd come up to some parties and stuff, and I would complain about the Marlins to him. So he was really good. Let's see.
Yeah, 9-year big league career.
When I was in college, I faced Chris Sale and DeGrom. They were the two big.
Weren't they Stetson and FGCU?
Yeah, Gulf Coast was Sale and DeGrom was Stetson.
Wasn't DeGrom playing short
He
in
played
college?
short, yeah. He pitched too, but he wasn't known really as a pitcher.
Could he hit well? Because I remember,
Yeah, he could hit.
Yeah, everyone heard that story about him taking Sale deep, and that was like his only collegiate home run.
I mean, he wasn't a great hitter, but he could. He and you can see in the big leagues, he every now and again he'll get a hit when pitchers were allowed to hit.
No, what's funny is he actually had the highest batting average on the Mets for like a while.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Mets always find a way to blow it.
So I think it was my junior year. We were playing in the conference tournament in Lipscomb University, and the week before we were playing Stetson, and I broke my finger catching. The guy bunted, and I moved my hand up like an idiot, and it fouled straight back into my finger, and it went that way. So I missed the tournament, but they said I could go with them as long as I scout the games with the coaches. And the first game was Stetson versus Gulf Coast, Chris Sale versus Jacob deGrom. So I got to scout that game. That was pretty cool. Gulf Coast won that. But then we beat Gulf Coast the next game. I hated Gulf Coast. I really did. I didn't like those guys.
Yeah, why not?
They rubbed me the wrong way. They would like my masseuse. She they would when they hit home runs, they would celebrate.
Very flashy.
Yeah, very flashy. I don't like it.
So you're more old school?
Yeah, I'm old school. I don't mind it so much anymore, but when I was playing, it really bothered me. So
Yeah, whatever Acuna does, like that LeBron James thing, I'm like, there's got to be like some line like, all right, dude, we get it. Like, you hit a home run. Congratulations.
yeah, I understand. Like it used to bother me. It doesn't really bother me much anymore.
Yeah, like I said, like there's limits. Like, what's his name? That first baseman for the Indians. He took Garrett Cole deep, and then he's running around the
Yeah.
bases, yelling at him the whole way around.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
my fucking son, like
Right,
cradling
yeah,
a
yeah.
baby. It's like, I don't know if that's a little excessive.
It's excessive. And then the worst is when they're
Yeah, do your bat flip, watch the
Yeah.
ball for a little bit, but to scream and curse at someone your whole trot around the bases, I feel like that's a little much.
or when you're losing by like 8 runs and you're pimping stuff.
Yeah, and you took. I actually heard Rowdy Tellez say that on Foul Territory. He's like, yeah, if like you're losing by 10 and take Clayton Kershaw deep, you don't really deserve to like pimp
Right.
your shot.
Yeah, and you're like what? I don't know what goes through your head to think that that's a good idea. Like you're losing by 10 runs. Like stop being an idiot.
Yeah, I know, especially if you're in like a basement dwelling team.
Right. That's how my dad taught me to play. Is when you hit a home run, put your head down and run. So that was like how Scott Rowland. Remember Scott Rowland?
Yeah, he just got in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's
the MV3 with him, Pujols, and Edmonds back in the day. Those Cardinal teams were nasty.
Yeah, I hate the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I never liked him. I didn't like La Russa. There's something about him.
Well, yeah, his White Sox tenure would definitely
That was
attest to
bad.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And remember that thing like with on like a 0-2 count, he walked Trey Turner,
Yes.
and then Max Muncy hit a 3-run home
Yeah.
run like the next pitch.
Yeah. The only thing La Russa does better than bad coaching decisions is getting DUIs. He's really good at that too.
I actually saw like a meme on Facebook after he got pulled over. It was like, oh, the new Tony La Russa jersey's out, and on the back it was .08.
Oh, that's funny.
So what's one of your favorite like memories from your playing career? Just one hit, one game, or something that stands out to you.
Winning districts was fun. That was really fun. I did have when I was in American Legion ball when I was playing. This was when Legion ball was still kind of big.
Yeah.
My brother was pitching and I was catching, and we're in the championship game in the last inning, and my brother hit a guy and the guy charged the mound. So that was fun. I never saw that before.
Like they got into actual fist fight?
Yeah. Well, it's a kind of a funny story.
Oh, elaborate.
We were playing the Jupiter Post, and it was the championship game. It was the last inning. We were losing by a run. There was a run on first, 2 outs, and my brother was a lefty. There was a lefty hitting, and he was fouling off like pitch after pitch. Like he had a really good at bat.
Yeah, like 15 pitch at bat deep or something.
And then my brother hit him, and not intentionally. And my brother threw pretty hard. So the guy got hit and he fell down, and I was like, "Oh, is he okay?" And like, he looks like he's hurt. And then he got up and just went straight to the mound, ran, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I ran after him.
Was there anything that led up to that besides like in the game at all?
Yes. So one of our guys got hit like 2 or 3 times that game.
Oh. So he thought it was retaliation.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what he thought. Actually, there's other stuff he thought too. I'll get to that.
Okay.
So he charged him out. My brother like bear hugged him, body slammed him. I slid down. I slid on my shin guards and started punching him on the head. And then the first baseman and third baseman came over and just started beating the shit out of him. And he was very messed up after the game. And the whole thing was their whole dugout stayed in the dugout.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't come out on the field.
That's a really weird decision.
The guy who was on the bases, I guess our second baseman was fighting him. So they stayed in the dugout. So only 2 people got thrown out of the game. And it was the guy who charged and me. Because after we were done, I went to their dugout and said, "You get out of the fucking dugout, you fucking pussy." And I was carrying on like an idiot. And so apparently someone like stood and blocked. But can you imagine you're watching your teammate get beat up and you don't come out of the dugout?
Yeah, and especially when it's your brother.
We had our fans who came on the field, like our teammates from high school who weren't playing Legion ball. They ran onto the field.
Oh my god!
To fight. Well, I mean, I was Johnny Leonard and Lake Worth. That's how we are. Anyway, I got thrown out. He got thrown out, and then years later, like in summer ball, I played for Doug Ferguson, who was the head coach at Jupiter for years. I played for him like every summer in college, and he told me, he pulled my brother and me aside one summer at the beginning. He's like, "I'm just letting you guys know, so and so is playing with the team this year." Mm-hmm. The kid who charged it. He's like, "Is that going to be a problem?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." So we played all summer. We didn't really talk about it, and that was that. But he claims that I told him before he got hit. I don't remember this, but I do say a lot of things.
Catchers are the worst with that.
He claims that I told him, "Here comes your pitch," and then my brother hit him. Which my argument would be, my brother has zero control. If he was trying to hit you, he would miss you. He hit guys all the time without trying to hit them. So
I don't think anyone on like pitch number 15 is like, "I still got to try to hit him." Like, because you get one chance.
And it was the championship. Like, why are we trying to? We're not gonna put another run on second base. So that was very fun. And then the umpire who was there that day, was it Jim Leaf? He still umpires, and every time I see him, he brings it up. He's like, "I had to hold you back and your mom back."
Yeah, I remember my junior year. I was pitching, I think it was against American Heritage, and Franco actually gave me the green light to hit someone.
Yeah.
That was the only time I got that. I was like, "Wait, are you serious? I got to throw out the guy?" So first pitch, just hit the guy and hip, butt, whatever. Then got a 1-2-3 inning after that. So that was kind of fun.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard. I was not a pitcher, but one summer in Legion ball, it might have been the same summer, I was pitching for whatever reason, and our coach told me to hit a guy because they hit up one of our. So I was like, "Gotcha, I gotcha," and I couldn't do it. I kept missing him.
Yeah, I know. First one, I was like, "I got him first try." Nice.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Impressive.
Yeah, I'm more impressed that I got a 1-2-3 inning after that.
Yeah, because sometimes it could ruin it. Like I played with a guy who tried hitting a guy. Well, there was a runner on third, and he threw at a guy, and missed, and the run scored. I'm like, why would you throw at a guy with a runner on third?
You still have to have control to do that.
Yeah,
because you don't want to go upstairs with it either.
Yeah, unless you're like Roger Clemens. And you just
oh my god. Yeah, he threw out a lot of guys. A lot of headhunting.
There was a lot of headhunting. Him and Martinez. Pedro was guilty of that too.
I think Pedro admitted it now. There's probably 3 guys he hit on accident. Because when you're a top tier pitcher like that, you have a pretty good idea where the ball's
Oh
going.
yeah, he did that all the time.
And he threw hard.
He was really good.
Like upper 90s, and he was like 5'10". And something about those short guys, when they throw hard, it feels like it gets on you a little extra quicker. Yeah.
And he had a really good changeup too, so it was really hard. It was a good balance for him.
You said was it your college coach that kind of led you to like wanting to coach, run a high school program?
Yeah, but yeah, Tim Toom, I actually coached with him 1 year after college. After I graduated, he asked me to help to coach with him at Daytona, so I coached 1 year there as a volunteer assistant. But I wasn't getting paid any money. I was like, I don't like because I thought maybe I want to coach in college, but after a year, I wasn't getting paid, so I went back home and started teaching, pretty much. So
yeah, so you started at Leonard, and walk me through like your coaching tenure.
So my first 4 years of teaching was at Jaega Middle School, and while I was working there, I coached that team, and then in the spring, I was an assistant at Johnny Leonard. Mm-hmm. And Doug McGaw, who was the coach at the time, he was my coach when I was in high school. He left. He coached at Kings for years, and then he came back to Johnny Leonard. And he asked me to be an assistant with him. And he kept telling me, like, we need to get you on campus at John I so you can coach. It'd be easier. Like, because I was working at Jaega, but I'd come over and coach as an assistant. And I was teaching English at the time. And he said, we got to get you on campus. And I said, I'm not coming here to teach English. He was a PE teacher. So I was trying to tell him, like, if you get me a PE job, I'll come. And so, like, after 4 years, he called me. He was retiring and was like, you want to teach PE next year? And I was like, yeah. So then that's when I got the job at John I and then took over as head coach when he retired.
So how was the transition from player to coach?
The hardest part about coaching is you can't play. So, yeah. So you got to watch everything. But
the adrenaline's still there.
It's still there, and you still feel it when big moments happen.
Yeah, that was one thing, because like when I coached for St. Lucia's last year, that was my first time like coaching organized baseball. Like I did a little bit, like, like helping out, but that's one of the things I was thinking about was like, how's the game going to translate from just coaching? And it was still a lot of fun. Like our first game was against Park Vista. We ended up going 8 innings. It was a 1-run game. Like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, especially. Like I've coached when I was coaching middle school. The middle school I worked at, it was not a baseball school, so all the guys I coached were guys who have never played before. So it's fun in a sense when a guy can throw a strike, and that's like
it's more fun too, like with high school, because you don't have to like walk them through things as much because they know what they're doing a little bit more.
Yes, you would think, but
yeah, generally speaking,
high school, and you can, and I try to run. I run my practices in the same style that when I was in college. So that's how I put them through like a college type practice.
So what's your practice like?
So just in terms of like the strategies, we'll see. Like it's not just BP and infield outfield. It's working on like back picks. There's a base hit to the outfield with no one on base. The catcher's backing up first to be a back pick from the cutoff man. Working on those. Different base running drills that we do at the end. Basically, everything Smoke Laval did from LSU, I take, and I do a lot of the stuff.
Nice.
That he uses.
So, Santa Lucia's is now your program. What are you looking forward to this year?
This year is going to be fun because we have a lot of seniors this year, so it's a very veteran group. And I was talking to them the other day. I'm like, man, senior night's going to be.
How many seniors do you have?
We have a lot. It's got to be 10.
Wow.
At least.
My senior year was only 5.
Yeah, there's a lot of seniors this year. So senior night will take a long time. We're actually playing Franco on senior night. I was like, you want to be our senior night? He was like, hell yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, we have some good players. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, no. When I was there last year, like there was a lot of talent,
and a lot of them can play in college. So it'll be interesting to see and fun to follow them this year and see where they go after San Lucia.
Yeah. So outside of baseball, like I don't know, what practices did you take with it into your daily life, and what are some of your other interests now? I've seen you do some stand-up comedy.
I do stand-up comedy. Yes. Somehow people tell me I'm not funny, so I don't know how that all worked out. But I got into stand-up. It's been almost 2 years now. So I took a stand-up class at the Palm Beach Improv just for fun, and then I really liked it. And the guy who taught it was like, you should start going to open mics because you have a real knack for it. So I started going to open mics, and then I've been doing it for like 2 years, a year and a half or so. And I've been getting booked to do shows. I'm not saying I'm a big deal, but I did get paid $20 to perform at a strip club one time.
That's got to be interesting.
Well, yeah, it's like the side room of the strip club, and you can see inside. And it was cool because there was like 4 old guys at the bar, and they weren't watching the strippers; they were watching me. And I'm like,
that's actually kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's much better on the other side. I don't know why you're watching this, but
yeah.
I actually I won a contest once. That was fun, and then I made it to the semifinals for Florida's Funniest Comedian the last year, somehow. So it's been fun. I've been lucky.
Yeah. So, do you feel a lot of the practices you learned from baseball you use in kind of your day-to-day adult life?
Absolutely. So for me, I still work out at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and that's something that I took from college, from my morning workouts. And showing up, making sure you show up on time everywhere, everything you do.
Yeah,
that's from baseball. And then baseball also like teaches you to handle adversity and failure and stuff, which I fail every day. So
everyone does.
Yeah. So
everyone does.
Yeah, you learn to handle that sort of thing. And baseball's the right sport for that because you fail all the time. And if you
learn what to do better because you're so used to like a successful player fails 70% of the time.
Yes. Yeah, people say that. They say in baseball you are if you're successful 30% of the time, you could be a Hall of Famer. And if that was the case in life, I would be a sexual dynamo. It's something I tell people.
So from when you were playing to coaching high school now, what are some of the changes you've seen?
I've talked about this with Franco a lot, actually. When I was playing, there wasn't a lot. You didn't see a lot of like guys doing lessons. Like certainly at like a young age of like 6 or 7 or 8.
Actually, one interesting thing is so my nephew's he's 7 now. You know, last year he was 6 playing coach pitch, and they had a kid on their team in travel ball.
Yeah,
I was like, why does a kid in coach pitch need to play travel ball?
Yeah, that's travel ball. It's certainly a lot of people complain about travel ball nowadays.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
It's really expensive.
And the whole, I mean, that's kind of how it's kind of ruined players' ability to like to want to like to get upset about losing. Like,
yeah,
because when you're playing travel ball, it's more just like, let's go have fun. You're not practicing. I don't know. It's for me the biggest difference now from when I played was guys cared more about like winning and they were upset with losing. Like losing was bad.
Yeah.
And guys they seem more okay with it.
You've seen players become more individuals.
Yes. And that's what it. I mean, baseball's become individualized with you want to like put yourself on social media and say this and this and to me it was always more about winning and being a team. And
yeah, because some of the like games I still remember, like we won or like we almost pulled off an upset.
Right.
Because even like there's some games I remember like it was a 1-2 run loss, but like you still remember because you guys were in the thick of it and almost won. Like at the end of the day. Someone's got to win. Someone gets the break that you didn't.
And that actually one of my favorite memories, you brought this up earlier, was when my sophomore year, Boynton Beach was really good and St. Lucie was really good. And they were both in our district when I was at John I. And I remember in the newspaper it said St. Lucie and Boynton are going to play in the district championship, obviously. And I remember posting that in the dugout and highlighting it. So we played Boynton in the semifinals. We beat them. That was a really good game. Mike Zanko pitched. I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
No, my brothers might know him.
He was a really good pitcher who had he was a little unlucky with injuries, but he was like hurt the whole year, and he came back and threw a complete game. We beat them, I think, by 1 run, 2-1, 3-2, something like that. And then we got to play Santa Lucia's in the championship, and we were beating them early in the game. They ended up pulling it away, but those were like being close with that Santa Lucia's team was cool because they were like obviously
they were ranked
really
nationally.
Yeah. But we kept it close the whole game, and then they pulled out at the end. But that sounded funny. Pulled out at the end.
Do you want to work on any of your comedy right now?
No, we don't need to do that.
Come on, open mic.
No, well, I don't know. Let's see here. I haven't written anything too good recently, as people who have seen me do stand-up recently can attest to. No, for me, my comedy is I do a lot of one-liners.
You kind of strike me as like a Mitch Hedberg type.
Yeah,
it's like one-liners and delivery.
Yeah.
A little bit of dry wit.
So Mitch Hedberg
he's one of my favorite comedians.
is probably my favorite comedian.
Yeah.
Him and Stephen Wright and Norm Macdonald are my top 3. And so people tell me that. They say, oh, yeah, you remind me of Mitch Hedberg. And
that's a pretty high compliment.
Well, I don't think they mean you're funny. I think they mean you sound funny. Because he had a certain style when he told jokes.
Yeah.
So I've had people say that before, so that's always nice. But like I'm very dry and one-liners, and so it's not for everybody. Well, it's not for most of the people who watch me because none of them enjoy it. But I like it. I like writing one-liners.
I heard about one of Mitch Hedberg's shows. Like the crowd was like terrible. They didn't laugh at any of his jokes, and like people said that was like his best show.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, his one of the specials he had in Comedy Central, he bombed. But it was so funny. Like he ended up. It's the one where he just sits down on the stairs and just starts telling his old jokes while he's.
Yeah, I remember I was watching one of them. He's like, my old shit works better than my new shit.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah. So I like Mitch, and actually I started listening to him in high school, and it was like either right after or right before he died. So I was very upset.
Yeah, he died around like 05, 06.
Yeah, that's about when I started listening to him. So he's been a big inspiration. But the problem is when I write jokes, I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to sound. I try to avoid like this sounds too much like a Mitch joke. I try not to do it.
So what's your writing process like for a joke? Or getting ready for a show?
I do a lot of. I practice my sets. I was talking to a comedian actually yesterday, and he's like, I'm going to start practicing my sets. And I'm like, you don't do that? And he's like, no. But I always practice, like just because I want to memorize.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do one-liners, it's hard. Like there's comedians who tell stories, and it's easier to remember that. Where if you're going from one-liner to one-liner, it's a little harder to remember. So that's why I practice a lot my set before a show. Like I'll do it multiple times each day that week before the show. But writing is just. It used to be easier. It's been obviously the more you do it. You think the more you do it, the easier it gets to write. But it's writing jokes is hard. So. It's hard to come up with something out of nowhere. So you look for ideas, you look for things that happen throughout your day or things on the internet, and you try to find something funny about it.
And with comedy, you consistently have to have new material, like every day.
Yeah,
that's where the process gets hard.
Yeah, you'll see some comedians like when you go to open mics and they do the same jokes every week, and you're like, why is that? Like that's not fun to me. Like I'm not going to do the same. I never want to do the same. I wouldn't like. There was an open mic at Matthews Brewery that is not around anymore, but it was every Tuesday at Matthews Brewery in Lake Worth, and I would bring new stuff every week, and that was my goal, to write new jokes every week. But you would listen to comics who do the same thing, and I'm like, how is that fun? I would get so bored doing the same jokes over and over again. That's why I haven't been out in open mics recently, because I'm like, I have nothing new. I don't want to say anything. So.
Yeah, I got you. So how's your view on Major League Baseball now? Because we talked a little bit about it earlier. The league's changed a lot, and right now it's heavy in the youth direction, because like the era I grew up on, and I'm sure you grew up on, was more veteran heavy.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of games anymore. I used to watch every Marlins game.
Yeah, it's a little difficult now, and like in the mid to late 2010s is when like analytics went like it made another leap. Pitchers would, go 120 pitches. Starting pitcher's job was to finish the game, and they went to 100 pitches, and now they're long relievers. They throw like 4 or 5 innings, and then you have a reliever finish out the game every inning.
Yeah,
So pitching's managed a lot differently.
I like to think when I was in college, my freshman year at Daytona Beach, our coach, his name was Chris Riley. He was the pitching coach, and we had something called the Riley rotation, and I feel like he was an innovator because he did this before anyone else. So we had 4 pitchers that year who were like, it was probably maybe a quarter to halfway through the season. We had 4 pitchers who were consistently good, and all the other pitchers were not good. So what they did was, you 4 pitchers are going to pitch every game. One of you will be the starter. You'll throw 3 innings, then 2, 2, 2. And the next game, someone else will throw 3 innings, and 2, 2, 2. So you know how like the Rays do they don't have a starter, they have an opener.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. So we ended up winning every game that we did like that for like a few weeks. And so I was like, Riley, you kind of started the whole new pitching stuff.
But the way the Rays do it, other teams can't replicate what they do.
Right.
Because I think a lot of it starts in the minor leagues with how they develop players. And like their minor league teams are always good and always winning because you need to teach winning,
Right.
from rookie ball, low A, high A to translate to the big leagues, especially if all these guys are coming up together. And that's kind of what the Braves did in the 90s, and that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, I still play fantasy baseball, and the problem is I don't know who anyone is anymore, so it's a struggle for me.
Yeah.
Although I've been in first place for a month, and there's like 2 weeks left to go, so I might win this year.
So who are some of the guys on your fantasy team?
I have, let's see here, Murphy, the catcher for the Braves.
Oh, yeah, he's been good. I thought it was weird when they traded I can't think of his name, but he's the Cardinals catcher's brother, Wilson Contreras' brother.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was weird when the trade happened at first because last year he was the backup to Travis d'Arnaud, and they were both all-stars.
Right.
And he started the game for the NL, and he was their backup catcher. Yeah, it just seemed like a weird trade. Yeah. And I was like, why wouldn't you get rid of d'Arnaud? He's like in his mid-30s now to trade for Sean Murphy. I just thought that was an interesting – I thought it was a bad trade at first, but it aged well.
Yeah, he's done good.
Yeah, no, he's been really good.
I have
another reason for Oakland fans to be pissed.
Yeah, what's going on with them? Are they leaving? Is that a thing?
Everyone, yeah, they're saying they're heading towards Nevada now, and the fans are really upset.
Yeah, the 20 of them that are.
No, did you actually see some of them have been coming out to protest games?
Yeah, I saw a video or something. They were all trade the team or sell the team or something.
No, they do have a very passionate fan base.
They do. I shouldn't speak ill of the Oakland fans.
I feel bad for them because remember in like the 2010s when they played the Tigers and the Tigers knocked them off. I think that was the year they lost to the Giants. It might have been 2012.
Right.
And their fans gave the team a standing ovation after getting knocked out.
Really?
Like what other fan base is going to do that?
Yeah, not the Giants and Dodgers fans. They just beat each other up in the parking lot. They wouldn't do that for.
I know. Like I hate like when teams boo their own players. I mean, look at the Phillies. They kind of willed Trey Turner back into existence because that's got to be stressful. You're going to a new team. You're on a huge contract. Yeah. Having the fans against you, it's not going to help your playing because baseball's a lot in between the years.
Can we talk about contracts? Because
yeah, they're a little ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Like we were saying, I'm a Yankees fan. I thought the Judge contract, like. I get why people are saying they had to do it, but I think it's going to age so poorly. I mean, don't get me wrong. This year he's been good. He's played about half the games, still hit over 30 home runs, but I just don't think his body's going to hold up for a 9-year contract.
It's just funny to me how much people get paid to play sports. And I know it's because they make money, but
look at Scherzer and Verlander. The Mets signed them both to like 3 years, $43 million, ended up trading both of them.
Yeah.
And they're both good pitchers, but you got older arms. Their body's going to break down more.
Yeah, you can't give guys those like that Pujols deal that he got when he signed with the Angels. Like those.
I thought Pujols got more of a bad rap for his tenure with the Angels than he should have. His first season there was actually pretty good. He struggled a little bit. He was still an aging player, but he did a lot for Mike Trout. He was a good mentor for him, and those are some of the intangibles you have to look at when you're signing older players to long-term deals.
The thing with Pujols, he's kind of like Robert Duvall, where he looked like or Gene Hackman. They look like they're 45 when they're in their 20s. They've looked 45 their entire life. So Pujols,
you ever see pictures of him in college?
No, did he look? He looked old, probably.
Oh yeah, like I remember when he was in high school, they intentionally walked him because everyone thought he was like in his 20s.
Yeah.
And when he was playing shortstop, hitting like 600 in high school.
He was balding in 7th grade.
He was always bald, just like Dr. Phil.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that was always weird. It was like, how old is that guy? He's like Danny Almonte. Remember that guy?
No, I don't.
Danny Almonte? You don't remember him?
Who did he play for?
He was the little leaguer who threw like 3 perfect games in the Little League World Series, but he was like 16.
The Little League World Series, I feel like there's always a scandal with a kid faking a birth certificate. Yeah. It's always hard for me to watch.
Well, Mitch Hedberg has a joke where he says, if I played Little League now, I would kick ass. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel I would dominate Little League right now. If I had to face those damn 12-year-olds on a 200-foot field, I would take them deep.
Dude, I'd be Ohtani.
Yeah,
I'd be Ohtani down there.
Yeah, and then I would pimp it off those 12-year-olds. Yeah, I never. I mean, I watched the Little League World Series, but it's a little silly.
Yeah, but going back to Pujols, dude, his last year with the Cardinals, that
was good.
That was one of the coolest things to see.
Yeah.
It was literally prime Pujols, and you had him, Yachty, and Wainwright back together. Honestly, for a while, I was like, I think the Cardinals are going to win the World Series. Because, I don't know. Baseball just has like kind of that romantic feeling about it. It's like you got these guys back together playing really good baseball. Pujols is back to like prime form. Wainwright's the ace of the staff, and Yachty is still Yachty. So I was a little upset when the Phillies beat them.
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't like the Cardinals, so.
It's because you're a Braves Marlins fan.
I don't know. I just like I said, I didn't like La Russa. I just never liked the Cardinals.
They've had problems with management since.
Yeah. But I like that you said baseball's romantic, because that's why, like, from a literature standpoint and a movie standpoint, baseball always has the best movies and the best.
So what's your favorite baseball movie?
Oh, I like that question. Let's see here. Favorite baseball movie? Probably. So my top 3 would probably be Field of Dreams.
Oh, that's a great one.
Love Field of Dreams.
Anytime you get James Earl Jones, because I'm a Star Wars fan too.
Yes, I love Star Wars too.
Love James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. I love, let's see here, Harry Potter. I love Batman. I've also never had sex before. So
you heard that here.
But anyway, so I love Field of Dreams. I can't watch that without crying. Like, you could show me the last 20 minutes right now, and I was
Moonlight Graham.
Moonlight Graham.
That was actually that was a true story about Moonlight Graham. He had one about in the big leagues, and that was it.
Is that a true story?
Yeah, that was a true story.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
So the movie was like historically accurate with the players it referenced.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I knew like Shoeless Joe and those guys.
Yeah, but no, the Moonlight Graham story was true.
You know what's interesting about Shoeless Joe in that movie is, in the movie, Ray Liotta throws lefty and hits righty, I think. But Shoeless Joe threw righty and hit lefty. But he couldn't do it that way. So I love that movie. Ray Liotta is really good in that as a person who doesn't look like they know how to play baseball, but he was really good. And then the whole Moonlight Graham and James Earl Jones is so good.
So what were some of your other favorite baseball movies?
Major League is one of my all-time favorite movies, the movie Major League. It's so funny. There's so many lines in that movie that are so quotable, like I say all the time. And then probably Sandlot.
Oh, Sandlot's great, the first one.
Yeah.
Major League, did you ever watch Back to the Minors?
I saw all of them. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan.
Because my brother Kiernan, Downtown Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The dude could not go. Like, if he went to right field, it was only down the right field line. Because I was like, is he going to hit an Oppo homer or something?
Yeah.
No, just a bunch of doubles down the right field line.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't remember that movie being that good. The third one.
It wasn't.
Yeah. But then there's other, like The Natural. The Natural's kind of silly though.
The Rookie was a great one.
The Rookie's good. Yeah, that's based off a true story.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many.
You ever watch 61?
61, yeah.
That one's my favorite one.
Is it? That's
yeah,
a good one.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah.
It tied in drama with baseball well, and like the baseball acting didn't look corny. That was one of my favorite things about it.
That's why, like, I like Bull Durham, but watching Tim Robbins pitch is always bothersome to me.
I never finished Bull Durham, and I know there's like baseball fans, that's one of their favorite movies.
It's a really good movie, but the pitching is a little silly.
Yeah, and one interesting thing about 61, the actor who played Whitey Ford, he was right-handed, so what they did was they did a little movie magic. So his numbers on his jersey were backwards, so they just flipped him in post-production to make him look like he threw left-handed. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the actor who played Mickey Mantle never played baseball a day in his life.
It was now Mickey Mantle. The actors. Now I'm trying to think. It was who were the actors? It was the dude from Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
The sniper, and then the guy from Deep Blue Sea, the cinematic classic Deep Blue Sea.
It was Thomas Jane who played Mickey Mantle and Barry Pepper for Roger Maris, and they looked a lot like them.
Yeah,
they
did.
casted the movie really well. Because Billy Crystal, he was a kid during the summer of '61.
Yeah.
And he was tweeting at Aaron Judge when he was on his run for 62.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was kind of cool how that came full circle. And the year the movie came out was in 01, and then Bonds broke the record again. Yeah. So it was just weird timing.
Yeah. The thing I love about Barry Bonds is he did all that like without the help of anything.
You're not selling me on that one. Look at a picture of him with the Pirates versus 06. The dude he hit 73 home runs at like 36. He started peaking in his late 30s.
Can I just say, and I don't know how you feel about this with the Hall of Fame. This is my problem with the Hall of Fame. Okay.
The writers are very biased.
They are. And I get why you didn't want to put Bonds or Clemens or Sosa or McGuire in. But it all, like, I think it's a joke now because you're putting guys in who did steroids, like I mean,
They put Pudge in. I think
Pudge
didn't he get popped?
I don't know if he actually got popped, but he clearly was on the juice. If you saw him and watched him with the Marlins,
Yeah.
and then he comes back with the Tigers, and he's like, "Oh, I cut out fast food," and he like 30 pounds later.
What do you think about Ortiz getting in?
That's what I'm saying. He was on the Mitchell Report.
Yeah.
He was just he was a very likable player. So
I think that's why he got in, because again, it was the media.
Yeah.
Because they didn't vote Jeff Kennan still.
right, but you're telling me like I love Bagwell, but you're telling me you don't think how are you going to say
Bagwell, yeah, he
Bagwell
juiced.
didn't, but so you're gonna put him in, but you're not gonna put Bonds in, you're not gonna put McGuire, so put all the steroid guys in,
Yeah.
and then you can say something like they play in this era, but they're still Hall of Famers. Like
Yeah, there's definitely a place for them in baseball history, but it's kind of hard not to shake that bitter taste in like a lot of fans' mouths, because it came after the '94 strike.
Right.
So Bud Selig turned a blind eye to a bunch of the drugs that made their way into Major League Baseball, and it all got started because of Jose Canseco.
Did you read his book, Juiced?
No, I didn't.
should read
But
it.
I saw some of the Howard Stern interviews with him.
Yeah.
So what were some of the interesting things from the book?
Well, I just love when he talks about like when he uses the word glute, like when I stuck a needle in his glute.
Oh yeah, they were doing it in like 7-Eleven bathrooms or
Yeah.
something.
So him and McGuire in any bathroom, they would shoot each other up. And then he talked about shooting up like Palmeiro and Pudge and Juan Gonzalez, those guys.
Yeah, they all got popped.
Yeah, and it's funny, at the time when that came out, everyone thought Canseco was a laughing stock, like, oh, this guy is telling stories. And then pretty much everything he said, I don't want to say it was proved, but it pretty much was like, oh, that probably ended up being true.
Yeah, I saw an interesting interview with Doug Minkiewicz. He played with A-Rod in high school and then again on the Yankees in 07.
Yeah. Minkiewicz, did he go to FSU? I think he went to FSU.
I don't know where he went to college. I can't remember, but he was also on the Olympic team that beat Cuba in 2000.
Oh, was that the Ben Sheets team?
Yeah. Ben Sheets threw a complete game.
Yeah.
What's funny is you look at his baseball card. He had so many complete games and just injuries.
Right. He was hurt a lot.
He was a great pitcher
Really
though, in
good.
his prime. He threw hard over the top curveball.
Yep.
And what was the manager's name? He was on the Dodgers for the longest time. Like the fat guy.
Florida?
Yeah. And he fell over in like the 0-1 All-Star
Yeah,
game. or
that's
something.
great.
Yeah.
That was when, I think that, it was 01 or 02 when they tied, and that's when they made the All-Star game deciding home factor.
It was that one in Milwaukee when
in Milwaukee.
Hunter robbed
Hunter,
Bonds.
yeah.
Yeah. Torrey Hunter was a great player.
He was great.
Yeah.
I love Torrey Hunter. I love that Twins. It's fun to look back on teams, not just in baseball, but in all sports.
Well, also, yeah, the Twins had like Torrey Hunter, Justin Morneau.
Jock Jones, Joe Mauer.
Yeah, they had some dudes.
If you like the teams that never won anything, but they are always good, like the Twins, and then like the Sacramento Kings in basketball when the Kobe and Lakers were in Shaq. But yeah, like the Twins team, and then like the A's team that was always good, but they never won anything. It's fun to look back on those teams.
Yeah, it is. So, is there anything else you want to plug before we wrap up?
That's now that's funny. Like if you said that not in a podcast, it would sound odd.
I feel like you're gonna have some material after this.
No, nothing to plug. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Twitter, or did I say Twitter or Instagram? My Instagram is Kyle D Comedy 88. That's where you'll see if I'm going to post it that I'll be on a show. That's where I post.
Yeah, send over your tags to me, and I'll put them in the show notes for this episode.
Yeah. And also, just I want to reiterate, like me and Nick Franco are mortal enemies, and I'm so glad he's gone because it's been. Let me tell you, it's been
Senior
night and
night's gonna
day.
be heated.
Oh, senior night. The players all want to know, like, we're playing Garcia, right? I'm like, yeah, we're playing. So they're like, what day are we playing though? They all want to know like the date.
Yeah. Are you playing them before senior night?
We are, yeah. We're going to their place first,
Okay.
and then we're gonna play. They're actually in this. It's funny. This is funny. I got them in the slam. I put them in the slam too because
Oh, okay.
Nick was like,
Oh, yeah. Now you're in charge of all
And
that.
he's like, can we be in the slam?
And you got to do the JV tournament.
JV
Are they in the
tournament?
JV tournament?
They're in the JV tournament. Yeah, I had to weasel around a few things to get him in the slam and him in the JV tournament because I had to kind of kick a team out of both things. So
Oh man.
yeah. That's all right. I didn't really kick him out. I kind of told him, well, you're gone.
Well, Kyle Dahl, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. This was awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, if you ever want to come back, you're always welcome to. And best of luck to you and Santa Lucia's on your guys' new season and beat Franco.
Yeah,
Your
well,
mortal enemy.
I have a winning record against him, so I'm.
So does his brother.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole point of this podcast is Nick Franco has a losing record. I'm kidding. I love Nick Franco.
All right, thank you guys for listening. Follow Kyle Dahl if you want to check out some of his comedy, and we'll see you guys next week on the podcast.